Coffee Talk. I'm Ginette Byro, and with me is Elyse Richmond and Elyse Catherine, and we are the mediums and channelers of Avalon Spirit. Thank you for joining us today, and we have such a power-packed weekend leading into the week, too. We've got the full moon tomorrow. If you're watching this on the 17th, that's tomorrow. It may be today for you when you're watching it, but we've got the full moon in Gemini. Then we have the solstice coming up on the 21st, where we change from dark meeting light, the new dawn, the changeover. Like, there's a ton of energies, not to mention we really are stepping into this new age of Aquarius, where we have changed from earth sign of materialism, stepping into air sign of, forward thinking, expansive thinking, and consciousness. So we're like right in that mixing pot of everything right now. So I imagine you guys are feeling it just as much as we are. So there's my long-winded welcome. Welcome.
Yeah, so I think we should dive right into the solstice because we're not going to be back next week because it's Christmas Eve. So this is going to take us for 2 weeks, and the solstice is in there. So do you want to kind of like talk about the significance of solstice and specifically, last year's solstice and then this year, and like how it's playing a major part in so much personally and collectively?
Yeah, absolutely. Elyse, you and I tried to host an event last solstice, and it was a yoga and channeling event to honor the solstice, right? And leading up to that event, we kept feeling like maybe we shouldn't do it. There, like something feels off, something feels off, and even the day of, we're like, something feels off, and we're like, no, we're gonna do it. Well, something was off, and it was the biggest gong show where I lost all power here. Then we had a freak snowstorm. I tried to find a way to get internet access, couldn't, got stuck on the road, came back home to be already 20 minutes late for the event, and there's a fire truck at my house which has the street cornered off, and I got home thinking, WTF, and it was all just this weird glitchy timeline shifting day.
There's supposed to be another big storm again on solstice this year too.
I'm not surprised, because last year,
The Fraser Valley, we're here out in the Okanagan. We're supposed to have a big storm as well. I don't know about Alberta.
I'm
But
sure Alberta will have a big storm.
yeah.
At least you guys have already had like ice everywhere. She was chopping ice off her driveway the other day.
Oh,
And
we're sheer ice out here too.
yeah, we had 2 bouts of freezing rain, and now it's like minus 75,000 here.
Yeah,
Yeah.
it's like minus
Slight exaggeration, but not much.
minus 20 with the wind chill here too. It's cold here.
It's crazy.
Yeah, it's pure ice.
Wow. I'm not going to complain too much then yet, as I still see grass.
But at
And
the same time, I don't know. I've been cozy inside.
Mhm.
Anyway,
So,
okay, let's talk solstice. Okay,
so last solstice, what we learned was we hit an upward trajectory that was higher than anticipated in terms of a timeline, in terms of forward movement. Things we clicked in as humanity to a higher degree than what was thought, which was a really good thing, only to then fall backwards and kind of fall out of it, to now then come around hoping that we are going to click up higher.
yeah.
What about you, Elyse? What else did you get that I'm missing from that?
I remember last year on the planet, there was a real, I believe it was the winter solstice, where there was like ceremonies happening in other places, and it was like across the world, and there was a real call forward of the critical mass needs to want to evolve and needs to, like, there has to be enough. I don't actually know if critical mass is the right word, but there needed to be enough people on the planet wanting their consciousness, wanting more, wanting the consciousness of the earth to evolve. And like there needed to be enough desire for change. And because there was a big shifting point of like, it was like, okay, we hear you, we're going to support you in moving forward into this new trajectory. And so there was kind of like this tipping point that happened last solstice. And for me, the understandings that I've been getting through my own intuitions, but also through readings for others, is that there is another tipping point of sorts this solstice. I haven't, this is probably for good reason, fully understood what exactly it is. Probably something with timelines. I know a lot of people's timelines have been up in the air, and there's been a lot of like, don't count your chickens before they hatch, before the solstice sort of thing. So that's the sense that I'm getting, is there will be another kind of up leveling, another shifting of timeline, another kind of greater level of understanding as we move through this one.
I had that.
Shifting of timeline look like for people? What's a better way for people to understand that if they don't quite grasp the concept of shifting of timeline?
Well, I think it was similar to kind of what we were seeing in the summer, but it's like something is happening. Maybe there's certain trajectories happening in your life. Like maybe it's like, oh, I'm starting a business, or, you know, this is happening with my family, or I'm doing this, or I'm doing that. There's like, we maybe have understandings of what's to come. We have plans for what's to come, and it all feels really aligned. And then things can kind of like, oh, no. And the image that they keep giving to me, and they keep giving it to me again, is this, for those who've watched Harry Potter, and I'm not a super big Harry Potter fan, I do like the movies, but there's that scene where he like, I think it's Harry Potter, walks into this room at Hogwarts, and you can see all of the like stairs changing where they are placed. So it's like one goes over here and then one moves down here. And it's kind of, that is the image that I keep getting of like, one pathway is going to change into another, is going to change into another, is going to change into another. And so what that can feel like is a lot of like, what the hell is going on? I thought this was happening and now I'm over here. What is happening?
And that's why it's so hard for light workers or people who do the work kind of like that we do, is when, or at least how I found is like the clients and stuff that I've been reading for in doing mediumship and, you know, like intuitive work, where in the past, it's been kind of easier to see clarity, especially for somebody's path, right? Saying, okay, I see this coming forward for you. Or right now, there's no certainty in that. There literally, there's no certainty in our my guides and how I've taken it from source too, is that they can't actually give me that information because there isn't that certainty. The path literally doesn't exist in a formal way, like, or in a structural way that anybody can count on. There's like, you know, right now this is a potential, or there's a potential, but that's even kind of up in the air. So one of the things that they're focusing on is literally nothing of future, and it's all of the cleanup. And so like to get on firm with your feet on the ground to move forward, it's like one of the biggest things about this solstice is the massive cleanup, because when you go into this next, and so we have the calendar year and stuff, but spirit doesn't work that way. It's like almost like it's from solstice is like the end of a certain, it's like the world card. It's kind of the end of a certain cycle, and to jump on to move forward in this higher trajectory of what is potential moving forward is about the cleanup. Is about the cleanup you do, right? Mm-hmm.
Yeah. You know, and that it makes sense too, because I was seeing that with clients too. I had one reading just the other day, and one of my Galactic Federation guides actually came through in the reading, which they don't usually come through in readings. That's, you know, I'm talking to other people's guides. I was trying to ask questions about this person's future, like where they're going, this and this and this, because they wanted to know that. And he came down and he's like, I'm sorry to interrupt, but you can't get any of these timelines right now. Please wait until after the solstice. There's too much up in the air. We can't, it's like moot point. And I was like, oh, okay. Like, it was funny because, like I said, they don't cross over into readings. They are usually, if I'm, you know, tuning in.
That's what I'm saying too. Like source, my highest guides that I work with on like to channel are coming through and saying, there's no predictive factors within our channels and our reading. It is about cleaning house.
Yeah.
So much cleaning house.
And I think this is kind of what they're even telling me right now, and connecting some dots actually for some other readings that I had, or kind of just moments of, so things will come, things are still happening, right? Like, and we've still talked about, like, we're still in forward motion, even though it's kind of like, and we're still in that like action potential, like creating what you want. And Lisa, what you were saying about like clearing things out. So it's like, it's not like we're at a standstill where you're not going to get any kind of intuitive things, or we're not going to get any, and not just us, but like everybody isn't going to get new opportunities that come forward. But what they were just telling me, and I've kind of seen this now in a couple different things or situations for other people, including myself, where they're saying things that are being presented on your path right now are not what they seem on the surface. So we're seeing something happen, and maybe it elicits a positive response or a quote unquote negative response of maybe fear or anxiety or, wow, I don't know what to do with this, or what the hell. But to like sit with it and look at it a little bit deeper, because it's there for a reason, but the way in which we can best use it to our advantage in moving forward is to actually not just look at it at surface level and say like, okay, I'm going to apply for this job because I feel a draw to it, so that must mean I must get it. It actually could mean maybe you need to apply to it because you need to have a conversation with somebody else that's going to say, why are you applying for that job? You don't want that job. Here's the reasons why. Why aren't you thinking about that? Here's your patterns. Maybe look at that. So the actual applying to that job was the right step because it elicited other things to come up and out. So it's that whole like, as things come up in the next little while, they're not exactly what they seem. And that's not good or bad, but it's just don't take everything at surface level and really like be open to the possibilities of how things might unfold. And it might not be in the exact like cookie cutter way that it's being presented to you. Make it your own and like feel into it and be open to all the different possibilities that might be there.
I love this, because what we're talking about is what's laid out in cards in front of me right now. And we didn't talk about that before, right? Like right before we started, I pulled this one, right, which is rise above. And it says exactly that. It says you will gain clarity on this current situation when you can see it from a higher perspective, which is like, don't judge everything the way you're seeing it right in this moment. There's more stuff going on. Timelines, perspectives, alignments is another big one I hear. Like when we think of it this way, every single person involved in a particular situation has the opportunity to deviate the path, either for better or for worse, based on their free will. So when we're talking about a greater collective shift of humanity, that's a lot of people with a lot of potentials with the ability to shift exactly how it goes, meaning it comes right down to the time of change in which you can finally get the insight of where it's going to go, right? Which is why I think like we're saying that idea of kind of stepping back and observing what's happening versus getting overly involved in it is really beneficial right now, because you'll just run around in circles like trying 100%. To figure everything out, and
that's exactly what I kept saying too. It's like literally there's nothing you're going to do about it right now. So you can observe it, you can sit in it, you can explore it, you can, you know what I mean? But it's like to be in a reactive mode is we're not right now, and at least till solstice. They're like, give us till solstice so things can shine a little bit more clearly. And it's not like you're gonna wake up on the 21st and be like, everything makes sense and I know exactly what to do. But allowing the stuff to come through without such a responsive manner. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah.
Plus, it's like Christmas season. It's holiday season. Like, have some fun.
Totally. I think too is recognizing like how intense the energies are too, though. Like they have been getting more and more intense. In some ways, they are getting, depending on where you are in your life journey, sometimes they can be more intense, but you have more awareness of how to deal with them. So it's less, I don't know, it can be a bother, but you know how something can be a bother, but when you have more knowledge with it, you can kind of deal better, if I could say it that way.
Totally.
Right? So there's that going on too. But also, I mean, this full moon that we have on the 18th is a very intense moon. It's in an air sign. It's in Gemini. So that's all relating to the mind. And the mind is really the gatekeeper to the heart, which is the co-creator of how you do things, right? And when so many things are up in the air, if the mind isn't contained, just like the ego sometimes, it can totally run amok, right? So it's so important to really get on the ball with your mind game right now, recognizing, again, what thoughts are just going to make you spin in a circle, Or what can you do, or what can you put your attention to bring you more peace? Because it's going to start with your mind right now, because it's so heavy on the mind as we come to this final full moon.
Mhm.
So if you're an air sign too, that's extra. I'm an air sign. I'll take it. But I found this thing I want to read, just real quick little tidbits for the different elements. So first of all, if you're an air sign, they say astrologically and energetically, some good news is coming your way. Could be a job offer or someone wanting to work on a big project with you. You're feeling action oriented right now, but Spirit is asking you to rest a little. Brighter times are ahead. You're moving into alignment, and listen to yourself. And I can say that's pretty accurate for me because Spirit has been on me to rest. They literally launched that thing off the wall, so it hit me in the head the other day and made me feel really icky, and then followed that a few days later with my back being thrown out, so I would just sit because otherwise I'm doing stuff. So just saying. Anyways, water signs.
Do you know all the air signs, water signs, and fire signs? Do you know them all?
Yeah, so air is Aquarius, Gemini, and
Libra.
Water is Pisces, Scorpio, and what's the other middle one? Pisces, Scorpio,
Cancer.
Okay. And then fire is Aries, Sagittarius, and
Leo.
which one?
Leo.
Isn't it Leo?
Leo. Yeah. And then Earth is Capricorn, Virgo,
And Taurus.
Yeah. Okay, so that was for air sign. Water sign says, your wishes are being granted. I feel like you guys, not I, but this write up, I feel like you guys are on this journey of self-discovery and really understanding self-love. These newfound perspectives are allowing you to see the truth of every situation. You're being advised to open your heart. So something to ponder as we move through this moon. Fire signs. You're in your head a lot lately. You're thinking about your job, money, career, and even love. It's like you're being a little bit hard on yourself. There were some disappointments, but I see you doing your best to stay hopeful and optimistic as you reflect. And then earth signs. You're recovering from mental anguish and self-doubt. You're becoming more confident in who you are and what you're creating. This energy is allowing you to manifest quicker and easier. I see you being in a more positive emotional space. So I thought that was kind of interesting.
Yeah, that is very interesting.
Yes.
All the people in my world that definitely would resonate with that.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. It's a wild time within and without, hey? Like inside, if we listen to our own inner mental chatter, and then when we look outside, like it's busy on all fronts.
It is. It really is.
Yeah.
I want to say too, oftentimes when we're kind of looking outward, it's like, oh, the holidays are deemed as this like joyful, fun, family, da da da, and that's great. And for a lot of people, it can be a really, really hard time of year, really triggering. Mental health issues can be really challenging. Plus, from a very like 3D perspective, look at what's been happening in the world. Even the fact, like Ginette, I think you were mentioning on your podcast, even the fact that like we weren't around people and now we're like out in the malls shopping and with family, and it's like a lot for our nervous systems. It's a lot for our bodies because we've kind of, in some situations for some folks, created a lot of safety just being at home and in ourselves. I know I have, especially as an introvert. I'm like, yes, never leaving my house. So for me, it's like, it's confronting to like be the busyness and the intensity and spending lots of time with family and stuff. And so, and if it is on top of all of that, a really triggering time of year for you or members of your family, with all of the energies happening, like really just taking time to nourish yourself in whatever way that is. Even a lot of my coaching clients, that's been coming up, like just nourish yourself right now. What, like, we're not doing homework. We're not, pushing forward on your goals.
Totally.
Let's just like, what your homework is, how are you going to nourish yourself this week? And like, give me a list, because I think we're getting I don't want to speak for everybody. I know for myself and a lot of the people that I've been talking to, it's like we're kind of getting pulled back into that Christmas churn, the holiday churn. And for a lot of people, that can be really wonderful and it can be challenging. So, like, what are you going to do to nourish yourself over this time, and rest and hold space and just give yourself a chance to kind of recharge amid all of the chaos that could potentially be kind of you could be feeling or could be happening around you.
Mhm.
Yeah. You know, I think one thing to be said too with that is like stay open to the potential of wild cards,
Mm.
whether that be for you within with thoughts, whether it be some event that occurs, say family or gatherings, or even like in your community, governments, whatever. Stay open to the idea of wild cards so that if something radically shifts, you're at least you have a space open for that instead of it just yanking the rug out from under you.
Totally.
Mhm.
Because there's with the speed at which things are jumping timelines and like shifting in the potentials, there's potential for that feeling of like something you just didn't see coming. But if you just at least are like, okay, something, and not in a fear way either, it's not in a way of anticipating and whatever, but it's just like sometimes when you have that heads up, then when it happens, you're like, okay, that was the thing, right? So, yeah.
Cool.
So, any other thoughts?
No, I think that's good. I think that's a perfect place to leave it off for everybody, and to do a little self-reflecting, really taking the time again, what Elyse said, to nourish yourself and create space, whether that be for something unexpected, which, like, I mean, in the holiday season is really like, that's just by this point something that we can say, let's put aside a little bit of space. You know how people leave, like, in a schedule, like if there's like a hair salon or something, everybody leaves just like a couple spaces for just in cases, because just in cases come every single day. It's like,
Mhm.
okay, well, I fit you in because I've always left a little bit of space.
Mhm.
So it's like, don't push yourself to the brink every
Mm-hmm.
single day. You've got to leave yourself space every single day for something, even if that's quiet. If you can fill that space with just quiet, like, make sure you give yourself space every single day, not just one day this whole season. Like, give yourself space every single day for the unexpected or for the nothing,
Mm-hmm.
right? And that can be the wild card, and then that's almost like we give ourselves permission for this, right? Like, although we don't need to have to give ourselves, but essentially we that's kind of how it falls, especially when it's so busy, and it's usually about other people this season, and it's giving ourselves some space too. So,
Mm-hmm. Awesome. Okay, well, so just to remind you guys, we won't be doing a Spirit Coffee Talk next week because it is Christmas. So we will be busy doing Christmas. We hope you guys are as well. But we will be back for New Year's to, dig into some of the stuff that came through the solstice, what we can think about with that energy of New Year's Eve. So it'll be a good one. But yeah, until then, we wish you guys a beautiful, wonderful Christmas. And we'll be back in 2 weeks.
okay.
Bye.